Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working on oceanscapes. Last week you worked on landscapes and we're going to repeat some of the skills and ideas that we learned, but we're going to do it in a different way. All right. So the kind of picture that you're going to be making today is going to look a little bit like this. You're going to have a large sea creature. You're going to have a school of fish that's repeated, and you're going to have some coral. So here are two examples, and we will look at these again later. This one is in process. All right, so there's the stingray, there's a repeated school of fish, and then there's some coral with other different kinds of fish. All right, so oceanscapes. Today, the focus is going to be overlapping, repetition, and emphasis. You know what overlapping is. It's when something looks like it's in front of something else. You know what repetition is. That's when something repeats or there is more than one. Emphasis we will talk about in just a minute. So, when you work on overlapping and perspective, this is a part of the art element of space. So we're going to do this school of fish, and as I said, the corals and the big sea life in the foreground. The key to making this work is overlapping. So I'm going to show you how to do that when you're drawing. Just a review from last week, we talked about the foreground, middle ground, and background. The foreground is this part here in the front of the image. Things are going to appear larger. And here there's usually something coming off the bottom of the paper, coming off the sides. So this is also what I mean when I'm talking about emphasis. So this is where our eye immediately goes, and it usually goes to the thing in the foreground that is the biggest. The middle ground is this area right here with one of the divers and some of the coral. The background is the diver that's very far away. So you notice when something is in the background, it needs to be smaller and it needs to be less detailed. So that's what I want you guys to practice today. I want you to practice using that size difference. I want you to overlap your objects, and I want you to practice the foreground, middle ground, and background. Okay, so here's another example of the coral overlapping the shark. And you can see this shark is in the foreground, it's right in the front, so it is going halfway off the page and it's quite large. You also see the school of fish in this picture. Can you identify the foreground, middle ground, and background yourselves? I bet you can. So here's the school of fish, again, repetition. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is to draw that school of fish, or you could do tiny turtles or small seahorses. You should really draw at least 5 of them because it's a school, and this is where we're going to focus on the repetition. On this slide, I put some easy fish examples for you to copy. So if you watch this video the second time, you can just pause right here on the fish or the seahorse, and that's how you can draw your school. You also can look up your own pictures on the internet to draw. So you're going to put in your school of fish, and then you're going to draw 2 types of sea coral overlapping the school. So it looks like the fish are hiding. Here are your resources for the coral. Lots of simple shapes over here on the left, and this is real coral from under the ocean. This is called fan coral, and this is the brain coral, which I love. Super cool. Look at that. Wow. All right. So after you have your school of fish and your coral, the next step is you're going to draw a big turtle, swordfish, stingray, octopus, shark, or other very large fish, and it's going to be overlapping that coral and the school. So maybe part of that is going off the page, just like we see here with the shark. I don't know. All right, so you've got your school of fish examples. You've got your coral examples. Here are some simple big animals for the foreground. Also, if you'd like to make the tiny turtles, you could just use this turtle as the example as well. So here is some artwork that is showing what we're doing here for the project. You can see the large shark. There's a couple of different kinds of coral in this picture. Looks like a painting. Over here, this is, wow, so beautiful and colorful. I can see all the different kinds of coral. And there's a clownfish. Ooh, it's really raining outside. And then this is another student example. If you want to add some rocks down at the bottom, you could do that as well. So, you have your resources. You have your sea creatures, your coral, and your fish. Now you just need to put it all together. So, you might want to start with the school of fish in the background, then add the coral and the big sea creature. But you want to draw lightly because you're going to need to erase. So this is another one that I started. I was working on that swordfish, and you can see that my land lines go through. I'm going to have to erase those before I do anything else. I would add my coral over here and in the foreground, and then I would put my school of fish around. All right, so I'm super excited to see what you guys are gonna turn into me. Take your time, make it beautiful, neat. You could use colored pencils, you can use crayons with watercolor over the top, totally up to you. Make a beautiful picture of an undersea scape.